people automatically assume that if they
Mhm.
have a lot of followers, it's going to lead to a lot of dollars could not be further from the truth.
Even influence or anything else. And to your point, it's like, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think it just is. I think it just is. And it's like, I think anytime that we're seeking validation from external resources, we need to caution,
Caution.
wave the red flag of where's that coming from and why.
If you had the choice between having 1,000 email subscribers or 100,000 Instagram followers, which one would you choose? Which would you rather have? We're going to talk about that today on this episode of Wealthy and Well Known. And I am going to highly advocate, and I believe AJ will as well, or we will discuss which one is more valuable. But I think we're going to tell you 1,000 email subscribers.
Well, I think it would actually be interesting to say, what do you think most people would say?
Let's start with that.
Let's start with that. You just like cut to the punchline.
What do you think most people would say?
I actually think most people would say followers.
I do too.
I think there's so much frenzy, so much conversation, so much focus, so much attention, so much concern around growing your followers and also wanting to do it overnight, wanting to do it expeditiously. But for why? For what reason and why? And it's like, it's so interesting when you pause and ask people, like, what are you trying to grow your followers for? Like, do you have a lead capture? Are you growing a list? Those questions kind of end up falling flat because there isn't a good answer. And that's because there's so much hype around this perception.
It's perception.
It's perception of what a big following must mean. And whether I'm right or wrong, and I could be both, depending on who you're talking to, it's like I think that most of us have gotten caught up in the image focus of followers on social media, perhaps a little bit of ego, or honestly, maybe it even makes us feel good.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like this inner something driving, like, hey, if I have a lot of followers, I'm more seen, I'm more valuable, I'm more important, I'm doing something, even if it's not driving anywhere. And then we get frustrated that's not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that gets a bad rap. That I actually think it's okay to go, I don't think it's a horrible thing that you get some validation from having a lot of followers. To me, that's not that different from going, I get validation from having a master's degree or conducting research or having worked with, hundreds of people. Like it's not a terrible thing to go, I feel more like a professional because I published a book. I feel more like a professional because I have the right camera, because I have the right microphone. Like, I think there's elements of that can be healthy. What I think is really wild, though, is people automatically assume that if they have a lot of followers, it's going to lead to a lot of dollars. Could not be further from the truth.
Or even influence or anything else. And to your point, it's like, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think it just is. I think it just is. And it's like, I think anytime that we're seeking validation from external resources,
Yeah,
is
caution.
we need to caution, wave the red flag of where's that coming from and why. And I actually really do believe for most conversations that I'm a part of in entrepreneur groups, even in our brand builders group community, a lot of this really is coming from hype and perception without any real understanding of what drives real leads, real conversions, real business for people who are actually trying to grow a business.
Okay, so you seem to be taking a pretty firm stance that like lots of followers isn't going to drive a lot of leads, a lot of business, a lot of
Well, here's what I would say. I don't think just having a bunch of emails does that either. So I want to be very clear.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think just having people on your email list or having people following your social media accounts does anything.
So there's the question to me is going, what actually does, right? Because I think if you go, okay, having a lot of followers doesn't bring a lot of money automatically, but nor does having a lot of emails. I think this is actually driving. What I think we're getting to here is the question people should be asking versus the question they are asking. They're going, how do I get a lot of followers?
I think some people are also asking, how do I grow my email list? And it's like, neither of those things necessarily mean a growth in conversions or business.
Yeah. So that's, I think, that what is that's the real question, is going, how do those things lead to business growth or trust or reputation and revenue, or how do they not?
Yeah. So I think you actually have to back up and ask this question is where do your leads come from? And when I say leads, we can say emails or followers, right? But where do they actually come from? Were they purchased? Were they inherited? Were they taken over? And I think you have to really go like, how did I get this follower? Was it through paid traffic? Was it through a borrowed audience? Was it because you bought them? No judgment, just asking the question. And I think the same thing goes from emails. Like, are these emails where someone has actually opted in to be on your email list or not? Because I get emails all the time. I'm like, how'd you get my email? Opt out. I spend more time opting out of stuff than I do checking emails today.
Hmm.
So, do I think that's really helpful? Just because some business has hundreds of thousands of emails, do I? No, it's like all I'm doing is like, how do I unsubscribe, unsubscribe, unsubscribe? So, I think a first question is where did they come from? How did you get them? Were these trusted individuals who said, I want to be on your email list? Did they actually click follow because they like your content, because they had been following you, they like you, they trust you, they want more of it? So I think we actually have to start there.
Yeah, I
Is
think,
how did they get there?
well, and I think you hit the word, right? The goal is not followers, the goal is not email addresses, the goal is trust, right? Trust must take place before there's a transaction. We talk about that in Wealthy and Well Known in the book. And to go, if someone's a real follower and they actually follow every video you post and they watch it, like, you're building real trust.
Mhm.
You don't need millions of those people for them to convert. You need a few people that actually do it. Same with an email list. But to your point, like, just because you ran a bunch of ads and got a bunch of followers, or you got a bunch of email addresses because they really wanted this one thing, if they never actually consumed your lead magnet, if they never actually watched any of the videos, if they just kind of signed up because you put something in front of them, you don't have trust. And I think trust takes time,
Mhm.
like, or it at least, you at least have to add value to somebody, a meaningful amount of value before there's trust. And you can't do a withdrawal of that trust and make it a transaction if it's not there.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge with the question in general, right? Would you rather have 100,000 social followers or 1,000 people or email us? I think that's the challenge of the question. Is well, I, I think the better question is would you rather have X amount of
2
clients?
dozen.
Right.
Would you rather have 100,000 followers, 1,000 people on your email list,
Or
100 people attend a webinar, or just 2 dozen of 10 of your perfect clients?
exactly. And I think if we started with actually how many new clients do you need this year? You would be able to better and more successfully reverse engineer what needs to happen and how it needs to happen to get that goal. And a huge email list, a huge following is somewhat
Well,
superfluous.
it could be helpful, but it
Totally.
may not be necessary.
It could be, and it could not be. And I think this all goes back to I feel like sometimes I'm just like, on a record repeat, just constantly of going, comes back to the very same thing we talk about all the time. So if you listen to the podcast a lot, it's like, I'm going to say it again because it's worthy of being repeated because we all forget it. It's like, you go where your customers are. Like, do you know who your avatar is? And are you spending time where they are? And it's like, if these aren't people who subscribe and respond to emails, it doesn't matter how big your email list is. And if they aren't people who subscribe and follow socials or podcasts, it doesn't matter how many followers or how many subscribers or how many downloads you get. If that's not where your people are, you're still not going to get that end result, which is how do I actually grow my business? And you could have 20 coffee meetings and get 10 new clients. So
There it is.
I think the question is not how many emails or how many followers, it's how many clients do you want this year? And in order to get that number of clients, how many people do you need to put yourself in front of? And where do you find those people?
Yeah, and I think if you start with the question, how many clients do I need to get? Most of us realize if you had a couple dozen of your perfect client, you could make more income than you've ever made before. And if you have that question, okay, where are my next 10 clients coming from? That's a question that Ed Howie
Mhm.
asks. He's one of our members. So shout out to Ed for that. The Howie mandate. I like this. Where are my next 10 customers coming
That's
from?
right.
And people who are making real money are usually they're making more money from fewer clients. And if you just go, where are my next 10 coming from? They're probably not strangers on the internet. The fastest path to your next 10 customers are from your 10 current customers or 10 people you know in real life. And I think it's like you can get those from 10 coffee meetings. You could get those from one presentation.
Yeah, you
It's
can also get them from your email list,
you
and you could
could.
also I think my point is I think we often, and I say we, including us, but I think we as small business owners, solopreneurs, we often ask the wrong question, which is, how do we grow our following? How do we grow our email list? And instead, we should be asking, how many new clients do you need this year? And let's reverse engineer it from what you're actually trying to achieve, and then talk about, okay, how do I get in front of that many people in order to just work the numbers? At the
Yeah,
end of the day, this is a sales game.
it is a numbers game.
uh, you know, uh, and so is marketing. Marketing is also a numbers game. Like marketing and sales are both just a numbers game. Now, if the point of the question, I think you have to also ask yourself, like, what is the point of growing my following or growing my email list? And if it's not for new business, if it's not for conversions, well, I think then the answer is really different. It's like, no, I'm trying to grow my social following for awareness purposes
Or for impact.
or for impact. And I think so, all of this, it's hard to say which is more important until we know, well, what's the end goal? Is it more clients this year, and how many do you need? Or is it, no, I need to have a much bigger following so I can get on more well-known podcasts. Well, then a bigger following makes a big difference.
It does matter when you're getting on shows. Just to share, you mentioned that marketing is a numbers game. I think it's worth sharing a little bit, if you're okay, transparently, some numbers behind the scenes from one of our recent webinars of going, just so you know, right? Like we've got 150,000, which is funny. People don't realize this. We only have like 100,000 social followers,
Not we,
all added,
you.
all added up
I
together.
still think I have like 11.2 thousand Instagram followers.
Yeah, but your role also isn't generating leads for the business, really. But
You know what? Most of you listening, that's not your role either. Your role isn't to become some social media influencer or some, content creator. Like most of you are building your personal brand because you're trying to get more awareness for your business. And I do that. I think my point is I don't have a ton of followers, and you don't have to also run a very successful business.
yeah, what I think people need to know is that when the truth of the marketing game is it is a numbers game, and it takes high numbers because you're talking about low conversions,
Mhm.
right? So we have 125 something plus thousand people on our email list who opted in to be there. We invite most of the list to attend a free training. We get 1,000 to sign up. We get 500 to show up. We get 300 to stay to the end, and we get 50 to request a free call. And out of the 50, maybe a third of those will end up, buying something. So you're talking about, you start with a pile of 100,000 to end up with
No,
y-
no, fairness.
15
Most of those are
customers.
dormant. I would say we actually have like 70,000 active.
The point is, it's a big freaking number.
It
So
is.
it's great that we can do that, and that is a way that we can grow. But we became an 8-figure business not by doing that. Because that's one way to get let's call it 15 customers. The other way to get 15 customers is to go to our existing 15 customers, and if each of them give us 2 referrals, we're going to close 50% of those. So we didn't need 100,000 people on our email list. We need 15 satisfied customers who gave us 2 referrals each, half of them close. It's for most people, it's much easier to find 15 great customers who will give you 2 referrals each than to build an email list of 100,000. And so to me, I think part of what I hope to articulate is it's not that one is better than the
Mhm.
other. It's that one is more realistic for the majority of people in the short term. It's why we say marketing is slow, sales is fast. But marketing scales and sales is it tends to be kind of one-to-one relational, which is still always great, but it doesn't maybe scale as big. So it can be both, but for most people, relationships is the shorter path to revenue.
I don't think it can be. I think it has to be. I think we live in an era, we live in a time right now where you have to be working multiple angles. And to ignore any one of them isn't good for the long term. But it also is like, hey, do one thing at a time and do it really well. And I think that's a mistake that most of us, often including us, have make or continue to make is we're trying to do all of the things at the same time and doing them all pretty mediocre,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. It's like you still have to be good at delivering services to your clients in order for them to want to give you referrals. You have to have a science and a process of knowing, how do I ask for referrals? When do I ask for referrals? How do I actually make sure I get referrals? Like there's still an expertise that has to happen in that. So it's rather you're focused and you're learning the social media game to grow your following. You're learning and focused on the email game to make sure that you're nurturing your list, you're converting your list, you're providing value to your list, or you're learning and mastering the sales game, right? And that's like, okay, how and when do I ask for a referral? Then what do I say to reach out to them so they want to have an appointment? It's like, regardless, it takes time to learn and be good at it. None of these things just happen because you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go ask all my clients for referrals. Hey, that didn't work. Well, why didn't it work? How did you ask? When did you ask? And so I think one of the big takeaways that I hope everyone hears in this is like whatever it is you're going to commit to, it's like it requires learning. It requires actually getting skilled in that area because none of these things happen by accident. They all happen with intention because somebody raised their hand and they said, I'm going to buckle down and I'm going to learn how to do it. And then I'm going to go do it. I'm going to apply what I've learned and I'm going to go do the thing. And it doesn't matter if it's social media, email list marketing, sales, any one of those. And all of those require you to actually learn something, especially with the digital marketing components, because it's changing all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's like you need to master one thing before you dabble into the next thing. And that's a big mistake that people are making. Let's do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right. So, for someone starting from zero, no list, no platform, no audience, what is the legitimate way to get your first 1,000 email subscribers?
Are you asking me?
That's a question. So I have
I was like, is this rhetorical or are
no,
you
that's our
answering?
rapid fire question.
No,
So I haven't,
I have. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. You go first. You share a way to get to 1,000 and I'll share one way.
Yeah. I think the first way that I would actually be getting to 1,000 email lists is I would be doing it through speaking. Like I would be doing it through speaking, and it doesn't matter if they're small groups, chambers of commerces, people still do that, y'all, or free whatever. It could be free virtual events, it could be free in person events, but I would have a compelling enough lead magnet that I could share that people would be like, I enjoyed this conversation enough, this presentation enough to give you my email because I want more of what you offer.
Hmm.
Now that's because that's probably comes from my background and that's where I have the most momentum and the most traction. But I would be speaking to groups of people online or not and giving them something of value that they would actually want. One of the easiest ways I have found to get emails when you're speaking is just to say, hey, anyone who wants my slide deck, come bring me your card or give me your email address through this QR code and I will send you the slide deck. You don't even have to have a big fancy lead magnet. You just have to give people something that they want in the moment. And if they sat through a presentation where you had a slide deck with quotes and statistics and frameworks, they want that. Otherwise, they took 35 pictures during your presentation trying to capture it. So tell people up front, don't worry about doing that. Just click this QR code. I will send you the slide deck so you have it. That would be one of the easiest if you don't have lots of technology, you don't have a lead magnet to offer, but you can go out and provide a presentation virtually or in person. That would be the first thing I would do because it's the lowest tech and it's the easiest to do.
Amen. I say the same thing. All right, next question.
Yours was the same?
Yeah, it was. It was. And here, I mean, here's the thing that I think people should know. If you're going to run ads to build an email list, you're going to pay for a qualified lead, call it $25 for a qualified lead. So 1,000 people in your email list is $25,000. And that means you're going to spend $25,000. You may not even have a plan to get that money back somehow. So
You better have a plan.
you better have a plan.
Don't be spending money until you got a plan.
Right? So, all right, it's $25,000. You also could probably go do 3 presentations and get 1,000 people on your email list. If you have a great lead magnet and a great presentation, you get a high percentage of the audience that convert.
What about those would be big audiences?
They would be big audiences, but if you're in front of 3,000 people, I bet you get 1,000 emails at least. You could even get sometimes we see events where we'll get 60% of the audience will opt in for an email.
Yeah, and I
For a
would just
lead magnet.
encourage, and if you're sitting here listening to this going, well, that's great for you guys. You're out there speaking to all these people. And I'm like, no, like this isn't your local community. You don't have to be a professional speaker to go and do this. It's like, where can you add value? Associations are desperate and need speakers at the local level, state level, and national level. Associations are great. Think about all your local networking places there. BNI still exists, chambers of commerce. There's so like junior chamber of commerce, even, just going to the different local networkings that exist. Like there is no lack of things. The other thing I would encourage that we've seen a lot of successes with our members and even our own employees is like they just host virtual events on Eventbrite or Meetup. And it's like, it's amazing. It's like people are looking for opportunities to connect, engage, and learn. So it does not have to be some huge event where you're the keynote speaker. It's like, no, you just come and you're a breakout speaker or you're a local panelist, or people just have to be willing to go, I have something to share. Where can I go share it? And then provide something of value to offer the audience. Next question.
There is a debate in the marketing world about email frequency. Some people say you should email daily, some say weekly. What does Brand Builders Group actually do and recommend for personal brands specifically?
Well, we don't do either of those,
Yeah, we email weekly.
but not brand new content and a formal, or is that just the RSS feed?
Well, I mean, we put out a podcast every week
Yeah,
and a
but
content diamond.
not
So
like
we
an
email.
e-zine though.
Yeah, we email people every week.
But no, I think it's the difference is like you have to put some context to that
Okay.
because we're just repurposing content that's already established and saying, hey, did you know this went out? Versus, I think a lot of people are going like, hey, do I need to put together like a formal newsletter? Do I need to create something in an email and send it out? So context of what we actually do versus, hey, we're just notifying people of content that's already gone out there.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah, or it's repurposing a longer form piece of content and converting it to a value-added email.
But I think that's worth because I think a lot of people, when they go, how often should I be emailing my list? They're going, how do I make time to put all that together? It's like they're thinking of an actual newsletter. They're thinking of something where it's like, no, I'm curating content just for this one email that goes out versus, hey, we're taking something that's already been created, like this podcast or something else, and we're putting a quick recap and resending it. So I think those are two really unique things.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we use our email list as a way to drive people to things that we're creating that are valuable, regardless of what they are. And I think that if you have any piece of content that is a really great piece of content you create, you should use your newsletter to drive awareness, or you call it your newsletter, your email list. I think you're making a delineation
There
or a
is
distinction there between
yeah.
a newsletter and an email list. A newsletter being a dedicated piece of content that is written in the written word first, primarily to deliver value through the written word, versus an email list that you're notifying of some other
That's
piece
right.
of content
Which we do
somewhere
that,
else.
but we don't do the first.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I don't think we're doing newsletter at all.
We're not.
Yeah,
That's what's like we don't do either. Like we're not doing that.
but if you sign up for our audiobook, so if you go to freebrandAudiobook.com/podcast and you download our audiobook, you will get a dedicated email it's based on the book, but it is a native newsletter email, and you will get one of those every week for 11 weeks, for the first 11 weeks that somebody signs up.
But that's not our email list. That's people who downloaded the audiobook. So
Yeah,
that's a
but
subsegment.
that's right, but that is our primary, like, lead capture right now, and so they will get an 11-week sequence, I believe it's 11 weeks, and then in addition to that, they'll get 3 or 4 direct invitations to request a call with us or join one of our free, live trainings or something like that.
But I think there is a distinction of how are we nurturing someone who just downloaded a lead magnet and how are we trying to get those to convert versus how often are we blasting our list?
Yeah, so I think an important point there is to go when people come on board, there's an indoctrination sequence. That's what Ryan Dice would
Yep.
call it, which is a term that I still use
Mhm.
and think is good. Is like when they show up, they are we welcome them to the family. And it's sort of like, when you go on a date with somebody, if it's going well, it's like you tend to talk a lot really fast and then maybe it kind of like paces out, I guess, over time. So I don't know if that's a great analogy, but that is what happens is people are going to figure out quickly, do they want to be part of your community
Yeah.
or not? And they're most interested in learning from you when
In the
they first
beginning.
sign up.
Yeah. That there's a window of opportunity for everyone to decide, is this a good fit? But I do think that indoctrination period, like somebody has downloaded your lead magnet because they heard something, saw something, read something they really liked. That is a nurture sequence that happens in the very beginning that can be more frequent, but that again is still different than how often should you email hit your list.
Yeah, and I don't I literally don't know the right answer to this question because I can tell you I can point to people who make a ton of money who email their list every day.
Yep.
I can also tell you there are people who make a lot of money or built great businesses like us who might email once a month. We do a dedicated, like,
Yep.
kind of push to the community.
And I think that's my point of like, we don't do either necessarily. I think, again, I think all of these rules of thumb, or it's almost like asking someone like, hey, what vitamin should I take? And it's like, well, I don't know. Where do you have deficiencies? I don't know. Like, I think
It's
that
unique
it's
to you.
unique to you and it's unique to your audience. And I think that again, the real question should be is like, what does my audience want from me? How often do they want to hear from me? What is their engagement expectations? What expectations did I set forth? And also like what works for you in order to do it well?
Yeah, what cadence can you
Like what
keep up without
yeah.
burning out? And to tie this whole episode together, what do you need to do to get your next 10 customers?
Yeah.
And go like if you're operating a company at scale, then maybe you need more. But if you only need 10 customers to make a living, then like what are the activities that must happen to get those next 10 customers?
Yeah, because I would just encourage, like, for the people who are like, well, I hit my list daily and it works really great. And it's like, I bet those are very short and succinct, right? These are 30 to 60-second reads, right? I subscribe to some where it's like, it's a quote, it's a question, and that's it. And it's like, that's really great if it's every single day. But if it's longer form content, it's like, I don't even want it every week, right? But it's like, am I your avatar? I don't know. And I think that's where we all have to go back to the beginning of where did they come from and what do they want from you? And using any standard rule of thumb or marketing best practices, I think best practices are there for a reason for you to have a place to start. But then you have to actually take that, internalize it, and go with my audience, with my avatar, with my content, with my abilities, with my capabilities, with my tech stack. What am I able to do? Because whatever it is you're doing, you just need to do it well. You need to do it consistently and you need to do it well, regardless of what everyone else is doing. It's how can you best serve the audience that's right in front of you and do it really well?
Community question. You read it. You tell us. Uh,
Why don't you read it since you have it up?
all right. So it's time for one of our favorite segments. Every week, BBG members, these are our paying members inside of our community, they ask questions and then they vote up each other's questions to tell us which ones they think are the most relevant and that they all share in common. So the question this week, this comes from Melissa. So she's a BBG member. I've been posting consistently on Instagram for 2 years and I have about 8,000 followers. But I haven't started an email list yet because I keep thinking I need to grow bigger first before people will actually sign up. Am I thinking about this backwards?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the answer is
The
yes.
answer is yes.
Yes, you are.
You do not need to have a certain number of followers before you have earned the credibility for people to sign up to your email list. In fact, you could have more people on your email list than you have followers, which is what we to
Which is
this
what we
day.
do, yeah.
And I go, you would rather have more on your email list than you would followers. And if no other reason than just one reason, which is you are in control
That's right.
of when the people on your email list get your message, and 100% of those people, at least potentially, should receive that message. Whereas anything you post on social media is massively fractionalized by the algorithm and
Mhm.
literally won't even be shown to all of your followers, not even close to all of your
It's a
followers.
fraction of your actual followers that see your daily content versus if you're sending something out to your email list, the likelihood that at least gets in front of them is 10 times higher, regardless if they take action. So yes, I would second that. It's like I would actually have some sort of lead magnet to start building your email list before you even focus on growing your social following. It's like, because the moment that you have anything to do with growing your social following, the whole point of that is how do I get them out of my social following into my email list?
Yes.
So before I would even focus on my social media strategy, I would be like, what's my email capture strategy? And that would begin before you even have one follower. It's like, once I start building these followers, what am I driving them to? How do I build the relationship? How do I continue the relationship? What's the next step I'm giving them to get more from me? And that would begin before you even have a social posting strategy to begin with.
100%. And when you look at how do you generate revenue and you go, what place does social media followers have in generating revenue? It's at the beginning stage. They go from social media to your email list to some more, condensed experience with you, to then maybe requesting a call, to then maybe buying. That's what the pipeline, that's what the stages, that's what the steps look like. So to just have a social media following and not have any other plan for any of those things means you're literally just you're not wasting time, but you're not monetizing anything until you have a plan to convert that and to capitalize on that trust. So you definitely people do not sign up for your email list because lots of people follow you on social media. People sign up for your email list because they think you are insightful and that you've got valuable expertise to share with them.
And because you asked them to. Right? So
Also that.
I think one of the things as we're wrapping up here, and I know sometimes listening to podcasts, you're like, you just want direct answers of like, just give me the answer. What should I do? And I think one of the things that I've been reflecting on, even like in this conversation today, is that it's a great reminder of how many people just don't like the strategy part. And the entire reason that Brand Builders Group exists is that we are a personal brand strategy firm because we believe without a good plan, then everything is directionless. And yes, a lot of people are talking about how to grow lists and how to grow followings and how to do this. And those are good things. And there's so much good information. There's also bad information, but there's a lot of good out there. The point is what's a good plan for you?
Yes.
What's a good plan for your audience? And it is back to that vitamin analogy. It's like multivitamins across the board, they probably aren't going to hurt anything, but they likely aren't helping either because it's a generic strategy. And most of us don't have generic DNA, right? It's like that's not how it works. But the same goes for your own business. What works for you and what you're trying to achieve with your availability, with your capacity, with your capital, and with your avatar. And so that is why brand builders groups that's why we exist. And so if you're listening to this going like, wow, like there's a lot of, well, what about this and what about that? And it's because that's the actual answer. Giving you a blanket response isn't the best thing for you. You to actually go, what is my strategy? What are the results I'm trying to achieve? That's the surest, fastest way to ensure you actually have success. So, if you would like to learn more about that, if you would like to go, well, what do you really offer at Brand Builders Group? Then we'd love to encourage you to request a free call. Where should they go, Rory?
Yeah. So if you go to freebrandcall.com/podcast, that's exactly what we will do with you. We will, as a doctor would consult a patient, we will do an intake, understand your time, your team, your technology, your capital, your vision, where you're at, and we will create a custom plan to go, this is what the next steps for you should look like. This is how you should move forward based on what you're trying to achieve. And as a part of that, we'll say, if you want us to support you in that journey, here's how we can do it. And if we can't, or you don't want to, you can also go on your way. But it is a unique plan for each person, and it is dependent on your situation. But go to freebrandcall.com/podcast. We'll help you sort that out. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button if you are on YouTube so that you can catch more of this on video. Share this episode with somebody who needs to see it, somebody who needs to figure out, how do I get my next 10 customers? And we'll see you next time on the Wealthy and Well-Known podcast.
Subscribe to our email list.
It's that simple.
Credentials tell people what you did, but a story tells them why you did it.
It's not like anyone is out there going, whoa, certified twice, take my money.